Now let's learn to make a toy. It's divided into the head, the body, the tail, the ears, nose, the eyes, blush, feet, scarf, hat. Just follow the chart to crochet. After completing them, proceed with assembly. The crocheting method for the head and body is the same as the moon's starting method, just the stitch count is different. Please note that after finishing the last round of the head, you need to close it using the planet closing method. I've already crocheted these in advance. Now let's continue with the tail. For the first 4 rounds of the tail, just follow the chart to crochet. Now I'll demonstrate the crocheting method for round 5. Make 1 beginning chain. This round requires a color change. To make the teaching easier, we'll refer to the yarn we're currently using as color 1. First, work 1 single crochet with color 1. Since the second stitch needs to be in a different color, the first stitch requires a color change. Insert the hook into the stitch. Draw the yarn through. This completes 1 unclosed single crochet. Place color 1 to the front. Take the new yarn, which we'll call color 2. Leave a small yarn tail at the beginning. Place it directly behind the piece. Yarn over and draw through. This completes the single crochet, and the color change is also done. Place color 1 to the back. Work 1 single crochet in the second stitch using color 2. Pay attention to the color change. First, make an unclosed single crochet. Wrap color 1 together while crocheting. After completing, place color 2 to the front. Finish this single crochet with color 1. Place color 2 to the back. This is the color change method. From now on, keep crocheting according to the chart until the second to last stitch. While crocheting, pay attention to changing colors. After completing the second to last stitch, now work the final stitch. Since the next round requires a color change, the last stitch should be an unclosed single crochet. Then finish this single crochet with color 2. Finally, join with a slip stitch. Cut color 1, leaving a 10 cm yarn tail. This completes round 5. The next 3 rounds don't involve any new stitch techniques. Just follow the chart to crochet. Now let's demonstrate the crocheting method for round 9. Pull up the loop. Take out the hook. Thread the piece through the loop. Gently tighten. Locate the 5th stitch. Hook the yarn out from this stitch. Mindful not to pull the yarn too tight when carrying the yarn across. Keep it slightly loose. Make 1 beginning chain. Start from the joining position, crochet the corresponding number of single crochets in sequence. You can mark the first and last stitch, so you won't lose track of the position. After completing, crochet 7 chains. Go back to the 4th stitch of round 8, which is the stitch right next to where you joined the yarn on the right side. Crochet 1 single crochet in this stitch. If the chain doesn't reach, crochet a few more chains. You can mark the first stitch. Then crochet single crochets on the left side, single crochets. Start from the marked position on the left side. After completing, crochet 1 stitch on the stitch of round 8. Mark this last stitch. Then crochet 7 chains. Go back to the 3rd stitch of round 8. Crochet 1 single crochet. Mark it. Crochet single crochets on the left side, single crochets. Crochet 1 single crochet on round 8 on the left side. The following part will be demonstrated like this. Refer to the chart and complete this round. If you can find the position, you don't need to mark it. Finally, join with a slip stitch. This completes round 9. Then move on to round 10. Make 1 beginning chain. Work the corresponding stitch on the single crochet of the previous round. Weave the transition chain into the piece. Ignore it. This completes round 10. Stuff with appropriate amount of fiberfill inside. No new stitch techniques are used in the following rounds. Just follow the chart to crochet. Keep adding appropriate fiberfill as you crochet. Finally, close the opening. That's all for the bodice crochet method. Next, let's learn the remaining parts. The ears are crocheted using the same method as the tail. Just follow the ear chart for crocheting. The hat can be crocheted following the moon's starting chain and crochet method. Only the stitch count is different. The nose is crocheted using the same method as the cloud motif. Just follow the nose chart for crocheting. Once completed, take separate yarn for embroidering the nose tip. Pull out 2 strands and thread them through a thin needle. On the wrong side. At the upper part of the double crochets. Stitch horizontally a few line segments. Then weave in the yarn tails. You can apply a little glue. And the nose is done. The blush is also crocheted using the same method as the cloud motif. Note that for the blush, use 2 strands of yarn. No need to secure with a chain. Simply pull the yarn through directly. Set it aside once completed. Next, let's talk about the sideburns. First cut a long yarn tail, then take 2 strands. I'm using chunky yarn for demonstration here. Start with a foundation chain of 2 stitches. Then go back 1 and work 2 slip stitches in the back ridges one by one. Once completed, chain 1 stitch. Go back 1 and make 1 slip stitch. The next stitch is also a slip stitch worked underneath the insertion point of this slip stitch. Leave a long yarn tail directly. That's all for the crochet method of the sideburns. Next is assembling the toy. Take out the body and the head. Sew the body onto the stitches of round 15 on the head. Make sure the slip stitch mark is at the back. There's no specific sewing method required. And you don't need to sew one stitch to another, as long as it's sewn securely. That's how the body and head are sewn together. Take out the ears. Sew them onto the stitches from round 3 to round 7. At the top, leave about 5 stitches between the 2 ears. At the bottom, leave 20 stitches apart. It will occupy 5 stitches going backward. There's no specific sewing method required, as long as it's sewn securely. Thread the reserved yarn of the ears into a sewing needle. Here, first secure the top and bottom 2 points. Then secure the center position of the ear. Once done, sew in any way you like. After sewing one side of the ear, sew the other ear. That's all for the ears. Next, take out the sideburns. Thread the reserved yarn into a sewing needle. Go through from the top of the ear. The piece is too small to sew neatly, so glue it in place. Secure the reserved yarn by tying a knot. Weave in the ends. Then take the hat and sew it between the two ears. No specific method is required, as long as it doesn't fall off. That's how the hat is sewn on. Finally, glue a pom-pom to the top of the hat. Next, take the blush. Attach it to round 9. You can first secure it with a pin. Space 8 stitches apart. Once the glue is dry, weave the yarn tail inside the piece. After completing, take the nose. Glue it between round 9 and round 10. If you're worried it might fall off, you can sew it a few times with yarn. Weave in the yarn tails. Take the thread for embroidering the eyes. Pull out 2 strands. Insert the thin needle between the blushes. Embroider on round 8 and round 9. About 1 stitch away from the blush. Just embroider a few stitches randomly, as long as it doesn't look awkward. After one eye is embroidered, embroider the other side as well. That's all for the embroidery method of the eyes. Continue using the same thread to embroider the feet. Embroider on round 4 and round 5 of the body. Leave about 1-2 stitches between the feet. Centered underneath the face. First embroider 2 V shapes. After completed, fill the tip at the bottom fully with thread. Finally weave in the ends. That's how the feet are done. Then crochet a scarf. Simply crochet chains directly. After completed, tie it around the neck. Weave in the yarn ends on both sides, or cut them short. Apply a bit of glue. Just make sure it doesn't come apart. The tail can be sewn on later, after everything else is assembled. Now proceed with the final assembly. Take out the moon. Secure the flowers onto the moon using pins. Pay attention to the direction of the moon. Make sure it matches the finished product image. Flower 1 in the middle position. Flower 2 on the left and right sides. Flower 3 on the outermost sides. Once everything is secured in place, cut one golden chain. About 36 centimeters. Take out one closed ring. Install it from left to right at the 11 cm mark. Pry the closed ring open front and back. Attach the chain. Then close it back up. Then take out the hook. Use pliers to remove the top part. Attach the closed ring. Sew both ends of the chain onto the pointed ends of the moon. Cut one piece of thread, in the same color as the moon for sewing, or take gold thread to sew. I'm using random colors here. Take one strand. Thread the needle. Start sewing. Sew the shorter side onto the outer side of the moon. Tie off and weave in the ends neatly. Make sure to weave in a few extra stitches. Weave this thread as well. Sew the other end onto the inner side of the moon. After sewing, lift it up to check if it's in an angled position. If it is, just adjust it slightly to make it straight. Then hang it in a suitable spot at home. This step mainly ensures that during installation later, the whole piece won't end up tilted. And it's also more convenient to check the effect. From the front side, The moon shouldn't be visible below the flowers. The top should be about 8-9 rounds away from the middle flower one. Place the leaves below the flowers, either between the flowers or on both sides. Arrange them according to your preference. Once the position is right, take out the string lights. Wrap the lights around the flowers. The switch of the string lights should be placed inside the inner pocket. As you wrap the lights, secure them in place with pins. Be mindful not to pin through the actual lights. Just pin next to them, mainly to shape the lights nicely. If pins are inconvenient, you can skip using them. My sample is smaller here. So I'll secure the string lights a few more times. Once done, use a piece of yarn to secure the lights. Cut a long yarn tail. Take one strand. Thread it through the yarn needle. When securing, you can lay it flat on a surface. I'll remove the flower here, to demonstrate how to secure the string lights. Let me demonstrate the securing method here. Simply pick up a few strands from the moon motif surface, and secure them with the light string. Once one spot is secured, weave in the yarn tail. I'll just trim it off directly here. Follow this method, and secure the light string in several more spots. You can also secure it at crossing points like this. Just secure the light string in a few random spots, as long as it doesn't fall off. Make sure to secure all the remaining positions. Once the light string is secured, now secure the leaves. Just secure them in a few spots. Don't attach the leaves completely onto the moon. Let the leaves have a slightly lively look. After you're done, weave in the yarn tails. Make sure to weave them with a few extra stitches. Sew the remaining leaves using the same method as this one. Once the leaves are secured, secure the flowers. You can place all the flowers on the moon. Once you've decided on the positions, start sewing. There's no specific method required. Just be mindful not to attach them to the light string, so it doesn't block the light. Once they're secured, tie off and weave in the ends neatly. That's all for how to attach the flowers. Then take the non-woven piece and cut it according to the star pattern. Glue it onto the moon. Attach the first one above the flower on the left. About 4 single crochets away. The second one goes between flower 2 and flower 1. Once the glue is completely dry, sew line segments around the edges. Stitch one line segment on each of the 4 corners. Leave a slight distance between each stitch. And sew 2 line segments in the areas between the corners. Now let's use a small sample to demonstrate the stitching method. Insert the needle from any position. First, stitch the 4 corners. Leave a small yarn tail at the end. Then stitch between each pair of corners. Everyone please complete the remaining stitches. This is the stitching method. Once all the stitching is done, it's time to attach the wind chime at the bottom. Let me demonstrate the assembly method for the left wind chime. When attaching it yourselves, first attach the wind chime tubes on both sides. Then attach the one in the middle. Finally attach these 4 wind chimes. I'll use this wind chime to demonstrate the assembly method. The rest of the methods are similar. Just the work pieces are different. First take a wind chime tube, and a gold thread about 35 centimeters long. Secure the gold thread in the small hole of the wind chime tube. Thread it through this hole. Tie a knot to secure it. Move the knot into the hole. Once done, thread the other end through the hole. And pull it upwards. Insert the sewing needle. Take one red bead and thread it on. One small flower. Make sure the front and back sides don't show any marks. Leave a slight distance between the bead and the flower. One light blue pearl. Leave a slight distance between them as well. If it doesn't stay in place, use a bit of glue to secure it. Once the glue is completely dry, thread on the next bead. One red bead, one yellow bead. Remember to wait until the glue is fully dry before threading on the next bead. One large pearl. Finally secure it on the moon stitching line. Underneath flower 1. Here I'll demonstrate the sewing method using a sample. The position is for demonstration only. Secure with a few stitches, then tie off and weave in the ends. That's it for the assembly method of the left wind chime. For the remaining wind chimes, follow the previous assembly method, and position them according to the finished product image. That's all for the wind chime section. Next, let's talk about the stars hanging above. The method is similar to the wind chime, just assemble them according to the finished product image. Finally, attach the fox to the moon. If you're worried it might fall off, you can secure it with a few stitches using thread, if the tail hasn't been sewn on. Sew it next to the fox. And secure it with thread to both the body and the moon, so it doesn't fall off. Up to this point, the entire product has been fully explained. If you have any questions during the process, don't hesitate to reach us via our website, Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next episode.